All right, guys, hello. I am quickly going to get on with my mom once it walks me through all the things. All right. Just give us 1 second here. We'll get both of us on. You'll have to bear with me today. I had childcare, but my babysitter ghosted me. So yeah, no show, no phone call, no nothing. So I do have a 2-year-old running around, which typically I do not during the day. But she's eating puffs, watching a movie. So hopefully she doesn't interrupt too much during the training. But real life, a lot of you guys are moms. So hopefully you understand the difficulties of getting childcare, someone that you can trust. And yeah, it's no joke. So we shall see. I'm just waiting for my mom, Dr. Michelle, to join in. Hopefully she does any minute. But yeah, while we're waiting, I just want to give a little overview of what we're going to cover today. So today we're really going to talk about the importance of the 4th trimester and care during the 4th trimester. So what I mean by the 4th trimester is really that 40 days after you give birth. Now, postpartum is this term that gets thrown around a lot for a lot of different things. People use it to describe like just the first 40 days. They use it to describe like depression. Sometimes I feel like in our society, we even like synonymously use postpartum and don't even put depression after it when we're talking about it. I mean, that's how messed up it is. And just by that alone, we can see how much more time and effort we need to put behind postpartum care. And then also postpartum is really just the term for any time after you have a baby. This can be sometimes up to years after you have a baby. You can still be in this postpartum state. So that's really what we're going to talk about today and really focus in on the 4th trimester, so that first 40 days after birth. I am quickly going to, let's see if she got my invite here. We decided to log on just a little bit early in case there was technical difficulties here before 10:30. So, she's joined. So let's see. Now we just got to hang on and wait for her to. There we go. Accept. And hate these live. She's in Minnesota right now. I'm in South Carolina. So we're trying to do this remotely. Typically we work together during the day, but today is not that day. Let's see here. We'll try again. I love social media. Let's see. Okay, let's try again. Hey, Mom, I see you're on. Can you request to join again?
I think I'm there. Yay! I made it.
What happened?
Yay!
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, good. I was just explaining that I have a 2-year-old and she may pop in and out, but we're trying to occupy her.
Yes.
My childcare did not show up today. And then I also went into, and maybe we can cut that off when we post the recording, but I went into talking a little bit about what postpartum care is and, or like what postpartum is, sorry. And that it doesn't just mean necessarily these first 40 days after birth, that it has, people use it in a wide variety of settings. talking about, the fourth trimester. It could be up to years after you give birth. And a lot of people also synonymously use it when talking about depression. They don't even put depression after it. They just say, I experienced postpartum, and everyone knows what that means, which basically indicates that we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
So we're going to cover specifically today a training on why the fourth trimester is so important. So that's that specific time period of the 40 days after you give birth. So what we're going to cover, our 3 points today, is basically why postpartum care in the first 40 days is so important, and why postpartum care in general is a long-term investment. So why we need to be doing it. Second point we're going to cover is 5 things you can actively do to support your body during the first 40 days. And these are still tips that you can use if it's been longer than 40 days. You can still revisit these things. They're just super important to try to plan for in the first 40 days after birth.
Yeah.
And then the third...
My joke on that was that, can it be like, what if it's been 30 years? Can I still revisit these things? Because you never did. Like, you never got that help or that, that rest or all the things. So.
Are you saying that you just want to take 40 days to sleep?
Yeah. Yes, that would be correct. At least.
Anyways, so the third point that we're going to talk about is how to advocate for your postpartum care. So how to make sure that you plan for it and get it after the fact. So if you want, we can just jump right into point number 1, which is talking about basically why care in the first 40 days is so important. And I think the biggest point to that was just about how impressionable our bodies are after a trauma, which birth is trauma. I don't care if it was like happy.
Yeah, even if everything and it was like the easiest birth on the planet, it's still trauma to your body. It's still a trauma. Yeah. So
our bodies, after we experience a trauma, are very impressionable. So what we do immediately after really impacts our long-term health. And if we do things correctly or in the right way to support our bodies, we can actually get over and recover fairly quickly from a traumatic experience. However, the way the world wants us to react, or the states really, from the United States, like from our American culture, want us to react after we give birth, is like the opposite of that. And it can actually hinder you for years and years and years and years.
Yeah, we're expected. It's like, oh, that was no big deal. So like, just get back to it. Let's go. Go. Well, I want,
right.
Like, oh, I've still got to do all the things. I'm going to entertain people, and I'm going to go and do the shopping, and I'm going to get out, and I'm going to do all the, everything that I did before. It's like, yeah, no.
Yeah. And I think too, our generation, at least like the millennial generation, my generation, we are being, Kara, hi Kara, bounce back, dumbest thing ever. Yes, agreed. We are being taught, no offense to you guys, but we're being taught by a generation before us that had horrible care as well. And a lot of the times I think parents tell their kids that are my age, like, oh, you're being selfish. Oh, you need a massage, or oh, you need to go out and you need time to rest. When I had kids, I had 7 kids, and we had to get up and run around, and I had to basically go make dinner for my family the second the last one popped out. And there's a culture, there is a generational gap.
Out of my mouth, not one.
What?
You never heard those things out of my mouth to you.
No, but this is what we heard out of your mouth. Oh, well, it was just so easy, and pregnancy was great, and I don't ever remember anything being that big of a deal, and I just came home with a baby, and you guys were fine, and my husband wasn't around, and I was able to do all the things. You made it sound like it was no big deal when...
In case there's anybody out there that doesn't know we're a mom-daughter duo, if you didn't already clue into that, and that's not true. My very first was forceps vacuumed and and Pitocin out of me. So I don't, it wasn't all sunshine and roses. So yes, yeah. But you are correct. I mean, getting back to the point of your the discussion is that we do have that bounce back mentality. So,
Yeah.
And it isn't, and it's actually so much pressure on after birth. It's ridiculous. Like all you should be doing is eating and resting. That's it. Eating,
right. Which we'll get into.
And yes. Yeah.
So first point, really, we're super impressionable in those first 40 days. If given the support we need, we can recover pretty rapidly and go on to have really long-term health postpartum. The second point why it's so important is really the investment in the relationships around you. So we've talked a lot about that. But if mom, it's like that happy mom, happy life, or happy wife, happy life, whatever that seems. But if mom is happy, basically everyone in the family is happy.
But that's a very ancient, like Ayurvedic kind of thing. That's where that came from. Like we realize that kind of a joke and put on coffee cups and things like that now, but it's not. I mean, it's really rooted in taking care of the woman right after birth. Sorry, did I interrupt you?
No.
Oh yeah, the same thing that my daughters do in October and November. I know, right? It's hard watching, our daughters and knowing what's coming and knowing what they're not going to get and having to be there. Important. Sorry,
but also too, like in terms of like investment in the mom, right? I think a lot of women struggle too with like, what's intimacy going to look like with my partner afterwards? What is it? What's my family? What's my dynamic going to look like? Am I still going to desire that? Because there's so much talk around sex too after you have babies, and like there's the jokes about how like, oh, now you never have sex anymore, and like all this stuff. And there is something to the fact that if we invest in the care of the mom, and especially partners, right, that that intimacy will naturally come because she'll feel well taken care of, safe, all those things. So and also with friends and family too. I mean, they play a big role in support. If you have a team of people that know that, or that are willing to care for you in those first 40 days, like how much more like open and how much better will those relationships be long term, and how much more support will they have and you have for future kids, and like all these things are really important for investment of your relationships around you. So those first 40 days are really critical for that. And I know I experienced it firsthand, like with going through depression, postpartum depression. Like you push everybody away, partners, families, friends, like you don't want anyone in your space. And that's super detrimental. And those things break, and it take a lot of time to rebuild. So yeah. And then we're going to get into this point a little bit later too, but when we're talking about nutrition in the first 40 days, because you are so depleted from pregnancy and birth, and this is totally normal. Women, it is normal to be depleted. When you hear that word, it's scary, whatever. It's not a bad thing. You didn't do anything wrong during pregnancy and birth.
Right, because your body is giving that baby everything it needs, and it does, and it's also a common saying, but it's like at your detriment. It'll take everything from mom and not care about mom because you're growing a human, and everything goes into growing that human. So you did everything right. You come out depleted. It's just the game is.
That's just, yeah. So when we say you're depleted, know that. But most women will attempt breastfeeding. I mean, if not, that's fine too. But that is, a lot of women will attempt it. A lot of women want to do it. That's something else that will immediately drain you of nutrients and the things that your body needs. And then also from the trauma of birth and carrying the baby. So immediately we need to start thinking about replenishing those nutrients. And it's so critical for long-term care, because if you do not replenish what is needed in those first 40 days, the nutrient deficiencies compound over time.
Right.
They get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, and there's a lot of research and a lot of studies now that are showing that because we're not taking care of mom as you know the way we should be, and we're not replenishing that depletion, that compounding leads to the postpartum depression. That it is a physical thing, you know. So that's, I mean, that makes it even all the more important that you the right care, and knowing, I mean, you know, and knowing what that is, knowing what that right care is, knowing what that the food is that she should be using to nourish your body, all that goes along with it.
Right. Which, of course, conventional care is not teaching you.
Oh.
We say women get over prepared for pregnancy and birth and then are underprepared for postpartum. And this whole, oh, we'll just check in 6 weeks. Well, at 6 weeks, like it's too late. It's not, you know what I mean? But like the 40 days are done. And
Yeah.
no one's giving you any instructions for those 40 days. And then they go, okay, well, then we'll check you. Like, what? That makes zero sense to me. And that we're one of the only cultures that actually does this. Most other cultures have continuous checkups in those first couple weeks after birth for mom, for baby, but for mom. And most cultures have nurses that come in and take care of mom. And there's support systems built around postpartum care that are ritualized. And it's so crazy to me that we've gotten so far removed from that. So
yeah, the only time we do that in our country is if you have a NICU baby, if you have a baby that was premature or had you know, some serious condition when it was born, you will get a nurse visit or two when you first go home.
Oh, how nice.
Those are the only home visits that are provided for, you know, so it's insane.
Right. So that being said, hopefully we've hit home a little bit of why those first 40 days are so important. We're going to get into 5 things that you can do in those first 40 days that will help support your body. So to jump right in, the number one most important thing, it's really like the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 most important thing is rest. And that is very hard, I think, for a lot of women to hear. There's pressure to go back to work. There's pressure if you have other kids. There's pressure just in general. What?
Or dogs. I mean, like you need to take care of at home.
Yeah, but as women, we're just used to taking care of things. So like that, the idea that we have to rest for an extended period of time and not do anything, we're like, oh my God, the whole world, like my world's going to fall apart. Like there's anxiety around that. And so we just don't do it. But it is by far the most important thing. And a lot of midwives and doulas and things, we'll talk about the first 15 days specifically, should be basically in the bed, on the bed, or around the bed.
So yeah, like 5 hour, what is it? 5
days, 5 days in the bed, 5 days on the bed, 5 days around the bed. And that's because your body, I mean, just thinking about the hormones that are accumulated in your body during pregnancy, right? So like you have the relaxin and all your muscles and ligaments and everything, they're loose. They're, you know, they need time to like go back to where they were before. And if you keep using them, that's going to be a huge problem. I mean, that's just one of the reasons, but your body actually needs that time to recover. You need to sleep when the baby's sleeping. You know, your job really is just to sleep, eat, and feed the baby. That's it. That's it.
That is your only job. Yeah. And our bodies, as a general rule, you know, pregnancy aside, our bodies don't heal unless we're resting. Like our bodies don't do the things they're supposed to do when we're up and around during the day. They do that while we're at rest. Our bodies need to be at rest so that we're not expending energy doing other things, and it can work on healing. It's just how we're created. Right.
So, I mean, I think too, a lot of women freak out because they hear, okay, great. Like I didn't. I remember, I think I like, immediately after I got out of, I was supposed to stay in bed for like 48 hours because I had some bleeding and whatever, but like I was like, screw this, like I got stuff to do, and I just like went right back to it, and what's funny is I think there's a little bit of panic because we go, okay, oh crap, like I didn't do that. And I think maybe some women listening are like, well, I have an 8-month-old and I definitely didn't rest or whatever. And that's okay. What there are actually, like you were saying, can we go back 30 years or can we do it after 30 years? But there actually is a way, and we won't get into it too much right now, but if you're curious, feel free to shoot us a DM or whatever, but, or we could do another training on it too, but there is a way actually to rest retroactively with your menstrual cycle and to kind of get some of that restorative and repair back. Oh, hi. Hi. Oh, okay. So rest is definitely the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6 thing you can do.
And yeah, a lot of people will say rest when mind. It's the worst advice ever. I hate hearing that, but it's honest to goodness truth. It's not. You just have to. And it's just. I know it's annoying to hear it because you're thinking of all the dishes that you think, but we'll get to that point. It's super important. I mean, being.
She's gonna be a distraction, I know, but this is what happens when your childcare doesn't show up.
There you go.
Real life.
I think we've
we'll get into a little bit more about how you guys can actually take that rest and how to advocate for it and how to prepare for it. We'll talk about that in a little bit later. But to get into point number 2, which we touched about a little bit earlier, which is nutrition, right? So nourishing food. So a lot of people too, after they have babies, I think a lot of us women, again, this bounce back culture, toxic bullshit. Sorry. We're focusing on like eating healthy, which is great, but we're eating the wrong things. Because when we think about healthy food, we're thinking like salads, smoothies, vegetables, like whatever. And those things are good in theory, but really what you need to be doing the first 40 days is the exact opposite. And I'm not talking about junk food. I'm talking about focusing on what?
No, I was just going to say like real whole food that's going to nourish your body. Things like bone broth and collagen that are going to help repair. It's warm food. It's cooked. It's easily digestible. It's high in fat because you need fat in order to rebuild organ tissue and feed the baby and create. Yeah. So things like bone broth, collagen, soups, anything that's really mineral dense to replenish that depleted body. And we get into that a lot with our program for postpartum care is we actually test for the mineral deficiencies and create food plans just based around what your body specifically needs. So I think that's super important. Mineral deficiencies we talked about earlier are one of the big causes later down the road of depression, anxiety, and those types of things. So ideally, this food is prepared for you in the first 40 days, and it's a great thing to get friends to do. Yeah, and it's really, there's so many quick apps and so many different things, and since we're all on our phones anyway, it's like meal trains and things like that where people can sign up. And you know what? And you can leave a step, and people don't even have to, you don't have to see people. You don't have to, they can drop the meals off with a nice note, flowers, and they can go. So kind of easy to do some of those. There was a little phone trees back in the day, but with technology, it's not that range for people to have that stuff prepared. You're going to be giving birth. You're pregnant, so you know that at this point in time, I'm going to need some help. So it can be planned for.
Yeah, meal trains are great. I know even before, like I know we did some of this, but we prepared meals like the couple weeks leading up to birth too. And we got people to help us with that. And we just, had a bunch of frozen food. So the first 2-3 weeks, I literally just heated stuff up in the microwave. And that was really great idea. So those are things you can do if you feel like a little uncomfortable asking for help, which again, we'll get into later because you need to stop being uncomfortable asking for help. And, but yeah, that's like one of my favorite things to do for my friends that just gave birth is like, what can I cook and just leave? Like I literally would just drop it off, either before you give birth or right after or whatever. But it's like, especially for anybody out there looking for a great way to support a friend or a family member that just gave birth, like that is amazing. And make enough for a couple days worth of food for mom and dad. It's a huge gift.
Treats, like you can have things delivered to people as well. Like if you're not a person, I don't cook.
That's actually one of my favorite things. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no, go. It's okay.
I said one of my favorite things to give at a baby shower, actually, along with the gift for the baby, is I always give mom a gift card to her favorite restaurant so that she can order food after a baby's born. Because it's things like that where the mom actually feels cared for during that time, and that's super important. But yeah, moving on to point number 3, I think we're talking about loving touch. So, and loving touch loving touch can mean a lot of different things, but usually it's touch associated with caring for the mom. So yeah, massages are great and everything. But one of the best things we've found for postpartum care is actually chiropractic work. Yeah. And you can talk a little bit about that.
Well, and we're not talking about, and so we're talking about mom here. We're not going to get into baby stuff, but we're talking about mom. And so, especially if you can find in particular what they call like soft touch or chiropractic, but it's reconnecting all of your nervous system back so that it's communicating. Without that nervous system communicating well, you are not, your body communicating feel. So it doesn't, and honestly, I know that there's a lot of people today struggling with that. It doesn't have to be a long-term contract. Honestly, if you could get to a lot of chiropractors that specialize in pregnancy, postpartum will come too, so you don't have to go out. But if you can just get in contact and just say, I just like a couple of sessions just to get my body recommunicating. So I know. And it's not the bone cracking and it's not the traditional kinds of things. It's really about the nervous system alignment.
And there are a lot of chiropractors that take insurance and take Medicaid. Yeah. So that's a huge thing, and it can really help realign and bring things back into the right place, bring body parts back into the right place. But it's also, again, it's that psychological form of like self-care for mom. Yep. Yeah. And that's important. Like whatever baby needs, mom needs too. Mom needs love and reassurance and snuggles. And well, I don't really like snuggles, but like some moms really need that. They need to just be hugged and held and comforted and everything that the baby needs. And I think it's important to note that here, because the last 2 years or ever since COVID, right, we've been living more separately than we ever have.
Right.
Before it was bad. And now it's even worse. And it's like even though people like go out now and they're more social and everything, like we've gotten to this place of comfort about being so separate from one another. And like Zoom calls and everything like blew up, and now people can just like do that, and nobody goes into the workplace anymore. And like we're missing so much human connection.
Human touch. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're literally living in boxes away from each other. And what's interesting to note is that postpartum depression before the pandemic, it was bad, but we were talking about like 6-7% of women. Okay.
Yeah,
after the pandemic,
about
1 in 8.
1 in 8.
1 in 8, 1 in 9.
Yeah.
After the pandemic, we're skyrocketed. We're at almost 25%. That's 1 in every 4, 1 in every 5 women. I think that has a crap ton to do with it. Yep. Is you already feel isolated once you have a baby, especially if you're a new mom and figuring things out. And now you're also living separately in a way that we never have before. So yeah, so I think that's important. Moms need that physical, like, connection and touch and those things. So another great thing, if you're looking to support a friend, like, get her a chiropractic session or a massage session or something, something where, like, they don't have to entertain you or host you or whatever, but they still get that, like, love, touch, care that's important.
But also on the partner side, on, that the bonding piece, that it's difficult for your partner to be watching you, go through these things, because it's a roller coaster ride for a while, emotionally, physically, everything. And I said, and so if you can do a little bit of bonding just between the three of you, or adding other children in too as well, if you have other kids, that are participating in this, but just that quiet family time, just laying in bed, laying on the couch, just quiet, close time together is also, it communicates with us, with after post-birth. We want to bond. Our bodies, everything in us is screaming to bond, because we just had a baby, and it's survival. It's instinctual. And it's like, so and incorporating all the rest of the people that are close to you, that partner and the rest of your immediate nerve, don't even realize just kind of physical makeup is to bond with that baby so it survives. And we need that as well. So,
so we got a question. How far after delivery can you get a massage?
It depends on how and what things are going. But I mean, honestly, I would say that some of the best massage after delivery, because you have a lot of sore spots and sometimes belly and all those things, is doing like pressure point massage. What's it called? What's pressure point massage called? My goodness.
Acupuncture?
No, acupressure.
Acupressure.
Your hands. They're doing your feet, because those connect to organs. Those connect to different places. A nice leg massage. My goodness. Especially because you're not supposed to be moving around. So a full body massage, I would probably wait at least that 40 days, and until you're really starting to feel those muscles and everything are kind of coming back together. I would at least wait that 40 days, 3 months. But you can get, pressure massage or massage your legs and feet and hands and neck, versus a full body, lay on your belly. Hopefully.
Yeah. And I think too, if not massage though, you can pretty much do chiropractic work and acupuncture work immediately.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if the chiropractor is the gentle touch. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so the fourth point is pretty quick. It's interesting. It feels like it should be common sense, but it's not, just like normal things. But surround yourself with, like, people that have gone through this before.
Yeah.
Like
wise women kind of community, right?
Yeah, and like non-judgmental women too. So here's the thing. Our body, whenever we experience emotions and extreme emotions, our body holds on to those things, and they can manifest in very physical ways. We need to express those emotions without judgment. And what's hard is some of those really dark feelings that you get after you have a baby, like, it's hard to say them out loud. Like, it's to friends, to family, to your partner, because they make you sound like you're ungrateful, that you don't love your kid, that you, like, want some different life. And that's not true. It's not true, but you need to be able to say it out loud. Like, you need to be able to be like, I, like, regret doing this. And not have the person judge you for it.
Right.
Because it's not, they're fleeting emotions, and they're very real, like, emotions, because it's a lot, and there's nothing wrong with them.
Yes,
and it also doesn't make you.
That was so much easier. Put him back in.
Right, but it's like, it doesn't make you a bad mom or a bad person. But it creates so much shame. And you drew on yourself. Good job. Come on up. If you carry those things around and internalize them, you actually start to believe that you're a bad person, a bad mom, that you're selfish, that no one could understand. And I could never say these things out loud because, please don't throw on me. Yeah. I could never say these things out loud because people would judge me, especially not my partner. He might leave me. But then we carry it, we internalize it. And it's a zoo over here. I apologize. I have dogs, babies, it's a mess.
It's life. That's life.
Yeah. So,
it does.
Yeah.
So whether it's depression, anxiety is a big one. It starts to impact your sleep because now you're dreaming about all the things you're thinking about that you haven't said outside. Just the fears that you have, they seem rational, but they're totally normal. Just all of those things. It's nice to have one or two people to be to vocalize and like actually I'll say them and go, okay, yeah, it's all good. Like, now it's out there. It's all good. I can let go of that.
Right. Like I had a friend text me the other day and she was like, I'm literally looking up one-way plane tickets out of here. And I was like, yeah, you do that. Have fun. Write them down. Save them. Get alerts on your phone when the prices drop. And then we were able to laugh about it, and she felt better. So it is important to find those people. And if it is your partner, great. But if it's not your partner, that's okay too. He also needs his own outlets and he needs his own people that he needs to talk to. And sometimes confiding those feelings between each other, like they can create like weird issues in a time period where a relationship's already like going through a lot and a lot of changes and like resentments.
Have to deal with later. So it's just, it's just nice to be able to have a trusted
wise women around, a community of women. Yeah. And then the fifth thing that we want to touch on real quickly is really contact with nature.
Yeah.
And how important that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that a little bit.
In those first few days, like we said, the first 15, you shouldn't be doing anything. Like you should just be in your room, resting, open your windows, get some sunlight, but just chill. Like don't put any pressure on yourself to do anything but feed and sleep, both of you. And so but as soon as you can, as soon as you're feeling, after that initial time period has passed, go sit outside if you have a front step or a porch or anything, but get outside, breathe fresh air, be in nature as you start to gain strength and starting to feel a little bit more like yourself. Usually that's an emotional thing. Go outside for a nice walk, take your baby, enjoy that time. And if you have
nature, well, I was like, being in nature causes us instinctually to slow down. It's just normal. It's a natural response to being outside. And so that
I was just going to fact, bird sounds, being out in nature, hearing all the birds, it actually has, it's one of the things research too, and it's kind of weird facts that are dead, but it actually reduces your cortisol, it calms your body. Crazy, but it does.
Yeah. So those are our 5 things. To recap, we have rest, nutrient dense foods, so nourishing foods, number 2. 3 would be loving touch. 4 is wise women, connecting with women, and 5 is really connecting with nature. And those are some great starting off points. Those are some great ways. And again, if you're past those 40 days, feel free, start to implement these things because they're still going to make a huge difference. But if you're pregnant now and you're thinking about putting together a postpartum plan, which we highly recommend, try to include some of these things, which kind of brings us to our third point of the training is how to advocate for all this, how to figure out how to do all this. how to advocate for yourself so that you get the proper postpartum care. And it's really hard because it's hard as women, I think, to advocate for our own care because we don't ask for help. We don't ask for support. It's really like not our strong suit. And because we're busy taking care of everybody else, it's very hard for us to turn around and ask for it. And we feel very selfish by nature when we ask for it. So, you know, one of the things that I heard, which I think is like the coolest idea, and it's something that I'm going to implement for my kids, but any parents out there listening too, this idea that our the generation of people ahead of us, or, you know, you guys, parents, your parents, wow, words.
Yes.
Generation ahead of us, they created college funds for their kids. They created college funds for their kids. They knew that was kind of the future. That was how they were going to give their kids the best chance at a good future, all those things. The way the world exists now, I believe, is a little bit different. I think families are really the future. And I think that mental health and healthcare and all these things, we need to figure out a way to, you know, the government, the systems, these things, they're not taking care of us. I don't know if they ever were, but they're definitely not. And we're seeing that very clearly. We need to figure out how to do that for ourselves and what our future looks like. And creating this kids fund for your kids is this really great idea, this really great concept where you start saving money for your kids so that when they have babies, they can get this kind of care. They can get functional medicine care. They can get
Yes. So yeah, to continue.
Functional medicine care, chiropractic care. They can hire nurses, nannies.
In order to really have a like that.
I'll let you talk for a second.
Okay. To really have a healthful the other thing, you know, that's kind of long-term planning, and it's such an awesome idea. About it, and cool. But in the short term, if you're in this period right now, you know, just trust me when I say everybody that you wants to help you. They want to, and the more specific you are about the help you need, the easier it is for people to help you. So if you specifically say, you know what, I would love to just come over and, like, you know, put away my laundry, got it all done before the birth, but it never got put away. Great. You know, somebody that's close to you, or whatever it is, just super specific kinds of requests, make it really easy for people to help.
We suggested actually creating a to-do list when you're ready to have guests. Have a to-do list ready that, like, they can choose from. Like, this is my to-do list. Like, if you come over, that's great. But, like, these are the things that I need help with.
Yeah. So come see the baby, but also you get on the to-do list.
Yeah. Everyone is hired help at that point.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is, as women, we just went through this thing that makes us innately women, right? We gave birth. Like, that's part of, like, the why we were created, and, like, you know, we did this thing that's, like, very feminine, very feminine. And we don't tap into then that feminine energy, okay? We still have this masculine energy because that's what the world has taught us, right? And feminine energy is really slowing down, practicing being vulnerable. These things are typically seen as weak, but we need to practice, and we need to realize that, like, we should tap into those things and into our feminine energy, especially after we did this thing. Like, slow down, be vulnerable, ask for help. Like, these things are not weak.
Right.
And so, you know, maybe that will take some practice, and it's really hard to be vulnerable with your friends and be like, you know, to let them into that, like, that place where you're a mess and your house is a mess and, like, there's dirty dishes and, like, maybe they do the laundry and your laundry stinks or whatever. Like, that's very vulnerable. It's hard to ask for, but if you can get to that place, it can be very healing for you.
Right.
Hey,
We spend so much time on a birth plan, you know, all the birth planny things, where we have no control really on how that's going to go, but it's nice to plan for all the bells and whistles and fun that you want to have. But also have a postpartum plan. Put together a plan for what are you going to do when you come home? How is this going to look? Who's going to be there to assist you? Do you have people in place that can help you? Do you have, you know, a meal train? Do you have time or the ability to make some meals? About what does that look like for me when I come home? How am I going to be nurtured? Postpartum plan, if I said postnatal plan, that's the baby plan. I'm talking postpartum, that's the mama plan. So you really want to have the post plan for mama and how that's going to happen. So, you know, it is hard to think about it from that perspective, and it feels selfish, but trust me, it's not. How you show up so much better for your baby, for your new baby, for any babies that you had before, for your partner, friends, family, anybody else. It's going to set you up to be able to just be there for you know, the way you want to be. So
my last point that I'd like to make is please shut down your social media.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Make your birth announcement, do your cute things. You know, you can get on every once in a while, but it is, not only does it convince us that we have to like move faster and be further than we are because of the comparison game, but we get all these weird parenting advice. We get like conflicting advice. It's very confusing. So if you have a plan beforehand, just stick with it. Open up social media so you can see all the people gawk at your cute baby and tell you how cute he is or she is. And that's all well, and that gives you happy dopamine, serotonin rushes, which is good, oxytocin, all the things. But for the rest of it, shut it down. Shut it down. Yeah. Don't spend more than 15, 20 minutes on it a day, and
If even that.
Make that. So.
Oh, yay, everybody loves my baby. It's the cutest thing in the whole entire world. And then see ya. I'll be back in 40. Yeah. I'm taking
40 days.
Break. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, we hope this was helpful. I know that the distraction was real. I'm really curious what happened to my babysitter. Still no word, but anyways, we appreciate you guys joining us.
Okay, time to go.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys. See you next time. Next Tuesday we'll have another training.
Yeah, and we'll